I am going to show you how to make chicken soup today. Chicken soup in the time we're in, which could we say that every winter? I think we could. It's a life skill. And you know what? If you feel like you're getting sick or, somebody in your family is getting sick, it's a good idea to keep these things on hand. And it's a good idea, if you feel like you're coming down with something, get home and make up a batch of chicken soup. Now, again, chicken soup used to intimidate me. Can you believe it? I'm sure there are a lot of people out there watching this who are thinking, yeah, who doesn't know how to make chicken soup, Suzanne? Well, I didn't know how to make chicken soup. Okay, so first of all, I'm starting with an onion, and I've taken the outer covering off. And the way I cut an onion, I do this, not all the way through to the bottom, but pretty close to it. And then you spin, and then you do it on the other side. It's just to get it small, not super diced, but diced, okay? And then I do the same thing on the opposite side, starting like so. When my son-in-law saw me cut an onion like this, he was like, wow. I don't know how my daughter cuts onions, but she's grown up seeing me cut onions this way. This is where our family cuts an onion. Just kidding. Okay, so anyway, then see, I've got all those great little things, and the center was kind of a little bit not to my standards, so I'm going to pitch it to the side, just that little center piece. Okay, and I'm only going to do half the onion, all right? But we're going to add the rest of it in later because onion is one of my favorite phrases, super good for you. It's super good for you. Okay, so this is easy. Now, I don't use bouillon to make chicken soup. Why? Well, again, that child with food allergies that I told you about, bouillon has soy in it, and so we don't use bouillon, but hey, I'm fine with it. So I'm washing my chicken. I bought like a package of 4 chicken thighs. And when I wrote my first cookbook, there's a recipe in there in February for Our Lady of Lourdes chicken soup, and that recipe calls for chicken wings. Well, this is almost hysterical because when I wrote that cookbook, so gosh, this is great. 5 chicken thighs came in this because I'm going to make up a big batch of soup. Okay, but anyway, also good hand washing, and then I'm going to come back and not bore you with the fact that I'm going to wash the sink and all that stuff. But anyway, the point is, when I wrote that cookbook, chicken wings were like dirt cheap. And I described it as, the perfect dinner to make after you and your husband have had the budget talk, and you can show your husband how delicious you can make something go, so little go so far. But now chicken wings, they're so expensive sometimes. So chicken thighs, in my opinion, are the way to go. And if you think about it, I always open the wrong side. If you think about it, all those little pieces of chicken that were barely there in the canned chicken soup, it's all dark meat. So anyway, I'm throwing the chicken thighs in and I'm salting it. I'm giving some salt on it because salt is good for you, provided your doctor has not told you to avoid it, and it flavors it. We want this to have flavor. Now, I don't add water. I'm just going to do it in broth, but I'm going to barely cover these in broth, and I'm throwing in a carrot, celery, boom, boom, and then I'm doing the onion that I chopped, okay? So I'm putting that in there, and this is something that I'm not kidding. If you feel like you're getting sick, make up a pot of this, and then you've got it. And chicken soup is proven when you have a respiratory problem. You can buy chicken stock, organic chicken stock in 6 packs at the Price Club. That's a really good idea. But anyway, chicken broth is proven to help chest congestion and help people recover. And so I'm moving this around because I want the chicken to be covered, okay? But I'm gonna add more broth after these cook, but I don't wanna have to heat up a massive amount of broth just to cook this chicken. Okay, so I'm gonna start it out on high. And I'm going to put the lid on because when you do that, things come to boil a lot faster. And then when it boils, I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. And I'm going to simmer it. We're going to see. I think it's going to take about 30 minutes. It might have even only take 20 because these were fully defrosted. I've even done it with partially frozen chicken thighs, and you just simmer it a little longer, but you always want to test it, you know, in the center to make sure that it's done. I think it's at 160, it's supposed to be. But I always do that, and I'm pretty positive it's 160. But anyway, I'm gonna do that. That's it. That's the extent of chicken soup. Then when it's done, you'll see the process we go through. But it's fast, it's delicious, it's way better than the stuff in the can, way better than the stuff you can order from a restaurant. And if you make a large pot of this, like add 2 more things of chicken stock, it's gonna get you through if you get hit with illness, and it's going to help you recover. And that's important because if you live alone or you live with people who couldn't do this to save their life, you've just done something. It's like knowing how to build a fire in the wilderness, knowing how to make chicken soup. It's important. Okay, you know, it's funny. I've made this so many times, I wasn't even sure how long to tell you to simmer it. If they're not frozen, it was like 25 minutes. And I'm checking the temperature right now, which I already did, but it is 160 that chicken is supposed to be to. And these are 170. So you're good to go. And you know, before meat thermometers, people would just open them up and look at them. So if you don't have a fancy meat thermometer, you've always got that option. Okay, so I'm taking them out of the broth, but we're gonna keep all that onion in there. I'm probably gonna discard I usually do the celery and the carrot that I used in the broth. But in the meantime, now see, this is the other reason to not like fill it up all the way full and then be doing your chicken. It's gonna cook faster if the chicken's barely covered. And in addition to that, by making your own chicken soup, which this is in Building the Family One, Our Lady of Lourdes chicken soup. But like I said, I use chicken thighs now, and you've got the option of, I mean, if you want to use chicken breasts, that's okay. But, okay, so we're going to do the thighs. But what I like to do is, I like to take the skin off right away and then kind of pull it apart with forks, and that allows it to cool down really quickly. So I'm pulling that skin off with forks. It saves your fingers. And then just kind of pull it open. And then this one, same thing. Just to let that heat out before you tear it up. We're going to separate all that out. Okay, so while these are cooling, oh, the other thing I was going to tell you while we're chatting, and I'll probably do something on Our Lady of Lourdes. I mean, that's such a powerful apparition. Beautiful, important message. And yeah, we'll talk about that in February. But I also, yeah, my favorite apparition would have to be Fatima or La Salette. I practically like La Salette the best. But anyway, so now I'm going to crank this up, bring the heat back up, and I have, since I'm going to be adding 3 things of stock, I've peeled and chopped a bag of carrots. It was a small bag. And then I'm using the rest of the onion that I had. I'm putting that in there. Because what you're going to do is simmer this for 10 minutes. And then I had a bag of celery with 2 heads of celery. I didn't use the leaves, the inside part, because that's kind of bitter. So I chopped all of that. And you throw that in there, stir it around. We're going to add the rest of our chicken stock. And we'll be tasting this for seasonings. It's going to need more salt. It's going to need pepper. And I'm going to clear away the chicken skin. But by boiling those in there, and simmering them, I should say, you're getting the benefit of the bones. You're enriching the stock. And it's just a great thing to do. So while that is going, I'm going to get rid of my celery and carrot that I used to make the stock. Put those over there. And now I just, look, it's cooled down. It's cool to the touch. I'm going to bring another plate over and just tear this chicken into bite-sized pizzas. Pieces. No, not pizzas. Pieces. Anyway, the other thing I was going to say is that you can freeze chicken soup. Let it cool and then put it into a Ziploc freezer bag. And I think, to be safe, double bag it, just because those Ziploc bags are not totally waterproof. But make sure it's flat, and you can freeze it. I'm going to let this one cool off a little more because it was hot. It really does help to separate it and get it, let that air out, or not air, but heat, and then you can really do it a lot faster. So I'm going to do that with this one, because that's a hot one. Okay. This is something that you can, like I said, make for yourself. You really, in my opinion, it's good to forward think. And so during flu season, or when times of illness are going around, it's good to keep the chicken thighs in the freezer, the chicken stock on the shelf. The carrots keep for a long time in the refrigerator. And the celery, if you wrap celery in foil, it will really extend the life of it. I've done that before, and it really does make a difference. Use my second fork here. Now, once you make the big pot of soup, you don't want to heat the whole thing up every time. I mean, everybody may already know that. But, food can only be reheated so many times and keep its full flavor. So you would want to, ladle some out into a saucepan and heat it up in increments like that. And then it will keep its flavor longer. And so, like I said, I mean, this is an example of something you could even make it in advance and have it just in the freezer. And then all you've got to do is defrost it, and you've got chicken soup, which is really It helps people to recover faster. That's been proven. You've got something, you could make this for a friend if they were ill. That would just be a godsend. And it's great just to have it to fall back on. So I'm going to be simmering these vegetables for probably, they're not at the boil yet, but when they get there, I'm going to reduce it, and then I'm going to simmer it for about 10 minutes, and then I will add the chicken in, and then I will add the salt and the pepper and season it to taste. And this is so popular. I've always noticed that whenever I make this, people in the family who aren't sick are always trying to eat it. And you don't have to be sick to make it. I'm going to wait. I'm going to tear up the rest of this chicken, and then I'll be back when we test for seasonings and it's all done. Okay. I put the rest of the chicken stock in, so that was ultimately 3 things of chicken stock. And then the vegetables, I brought it to a boil, and then, you know, of course, because you add the chicken stock, it takes a little bit of time to come back to the boil, but not that long. So I would say it's been, in fact, I'm going to turn this off. I would say it's been, like, maybe it took 4 minutes to boil, and then it's been simmering for 10 minutes after that. So now I'm going to test it for seasonings. The way I do it is I always use a big spoon to taste from and a little spoon to get it out, because if you try to pour it into a little spoon, it's going to spill back into the pot if you've tasted on it, and you don't want that. So it's much easier just to do the little spoonful into the big spoon and have your taste that way. It needs more salt. I already added about a teaspoon of salt, and I'm going to add about a teaspoon more. And of course, salt's like, you know, anything else. It's easier to put it in than it is to take it out, so you don't want to be. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it, but that's good. Now, the thing I wanted to say about this is that it's so full of healthy things. First of all, dark meat has a lot more iron, and so it's very good to use, doing the small spoon into the big spoon. And then the carrots, the celery, perfect. Actually, maybe a little bit more salt, but about that much more. Anyway, I think that'll do it. So the carrots, the celery is really good for your bones. If you're not a person who can drink milk, eat celery. Really strengthens your bones. And the onion is so good for you. Onions are just, they're amazing. God is so good, this food he's designed. The other thing I wanted to tell you about is that our oldest daughter, Suzanne Fowler, Sample, wrote a cookbook. She also produced and wrote and in large part directed The Dating Project, which was her idea, her baby. She got it made and it went into theaters. And so then she wrote, after she left California, she wrote Gather Together, which is a Catholic cookbook for people who want to gather and have people over. And it's so great, and it's great for younger Catholics, but she's got ideas, conversation topics. She's a fantastic cook. I mean, really, she puts me to shame. Okay, so that's available through Ave Maria Press, Gather Together, and if you need a gift for somebody, it's a great gift, or for yourself. So now I've got the dark meat that I took off the bones, removed the skin, removed any gristle, threw all that away, and now I'm going to add that into the soup, and then we're all done. And so you have got a pot of real sustenance there that you can have with a pretzel that we made in the other example. You can have it with buttered toast. You can have it with a roll. You can have it by itself. Here's one thing. I don't put noodles in it anymore because they absorb all the broth as it sits in the refrigerator. And so I just don't do that anymore because the whole reason you're making the soup is to get the broth, to get the benefit of what came out of those chicken bones and the chicken skin. And so I don't do noodles anymore. But if we're going to have it like for dinner, and in the Our Lady of Lourdes chicken soup recipe, I tell you how to make dumplings. Those are amazing. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do that in February, okay? But I wanted to just get this out there so that people have something to basically make up and turn to. And honestly, chicken soup does a lot when you're sick. So make up a pot, take out little amounts to heat up as you need them, freeze it, keep the things on your shelves and in your fridge. And if you get hit with something, you're ready. You've got it all planned out and you'll be set. So I'm praying for everybody who watches this video that it's just, you have health and you have faith and you have happiness. And please like it and share it and spread it. If you know somebody who needs to maybe know how to make chicken soup, send it to them. It could be a help. See you later.